What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented as always by our friends at Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis. Experience the difference with Pure Options, the quality, the selection, the customer service. I'm telling you, if you have not been to a Pure Options yet, they've got 3 locations in the Lansing area. They've got one in Mount Pleasant, in Detroit, Muskegon. Go to pureoptions.com, find the location nearest you, sign up for their Pure Perks loyalty program, download the app. Great deals, events, all sorts of stuff. You can have it all tailored to you when you join the loyalty program as well. And our Friday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. You download the app, you'll enjoy the sign-up bonuses, you'll enjoy the user-friendliness. And if you want the in-house casino experience, Firekeepers is here for you right off I-94 in Battle Creek. Great place to spend a weekend watching college football or the NFL, and you know, obviously there's some other stuff going on at the casino you can gamble on. I meant that in a positive way. I don't know what you can gamble on. Either slot machines, blackjack tables, the fun stuff, the other stuff. Great restaurants and events as well down there. Jason, how you doing, brother?
Go out there, play hard, stick your cleats so far up their asses that they've got to use the cleats to brush their teeth with.
Really good penis.
What's up, buddy? Yeah, you could also gamble on just random things. You know, people watching. Is that guy going to eat that booger? 2-1 odds on that. I mean, you can just come up with it. I love walking around a casino and people watching sometimes before I gamble. So I feel like you can do anything at a casino.
So much to do.
And options are wide open.
They're never going to make you leave. So, well, I mean, if you behave a certain way.
And there's a possibility that you can win life-changing money.
That's true.
I mean, there's always that.
There is that. By the way, speaking of people watching, and I had a moment yesterday with Fred Human where, where I felt all of Fred Human. Right. No, I saw that coming. So the way it works after Michigan State basketball practice when they're in the main arena is Izzo stands under one of the basket stanchions that are in the center of the court.
It's a gangbang.
And everybody gets around. Right. Yeah. And Fred was posted up on one of them. And so I lied to Fred. I was like, "No, Fred, it's over here. This is where it's going to be." And so I got and so everybody else got around the same one I was at, and then obviously Izzo came over to ours anyway because that's where everybody was. But I made Fred walk over because he had posted up in a spot. I was like, I don't want to be like if Fred boxes out and gets that type of position in the paint. I mean, I felt all of Fred Human. Then I'm going to suffer. So I had
can't move that.
Yeah,
I always think that whenever I see an Izzo gangbang scrum from Comparoni or something, I always see Fred Human posted up, and I just go, "Where does Couch going to sneak into that equation?"
Comp with his camera up right in Izzo's face yesterday. I mean, I know it's his job, and people like that stuff. Holy shit,
dude! We should get Jason Colthorpe on here because his Jim Comparoni, I miss it so much. Like his impressions, period, were just unbelievable, spot on. He does the best stout. The best Jim Comparoni, probably the only Jim Comparoni impression ever. So maybe I should just text him like, "Dude, can you do a little comp for me?"
That would be amazing. I have not heard it. I mean, Jonathan Smith and Comp have already.
I know he shied away. Comp shied away from that. I tried starting that when Smith got hired, and I'm like, "Comp, you guys kind of look alike." And he probably despises me anyway. But like.
Well, we've got a good show, a lot of Groovy Donut Twitter questions, some great stuff. Dominic back in the fold. Good to have Dominic back. Yeah, very, very pleased about that. But first, as we do every end of week show, what we're betting presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. You betting anything this weekend?
Of course I am, my friend, and it starts tonight with some college football. I'm going to give you some games. I'm going to pair these in some sort of fashion this weekend. I'm not going to put them all together as a giant parlay because that's stupid, but I will, separate some of these 1 to 2 leg parlays. 1 to 2, 2 to 3 leg parlays. I like BC. I'm getting 7 and a hook tonight against Louisville. BC at home. Illinois, we talked about this game with Harry, plus 21 and a hook at Oregon. Brett Bielema, I trust him with that many points. Vandy, plus 18 and a hook at home against Texas. MSU plus 5.5. I don't know what that number's at right now, Graham, but 5.5 is where I got it against Michigan. And LSU at Texas A&M plus 3.5. So those are the college football games that I like.
I've got some soccer bets.
Oh, shit. Here.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Well, not a ton, but there's a couple things I like this week. Aston Villa at home against Bournemouth, 10 a.m. Saturday morning our time. It's minus 125. I like Bournemouth as a team. They're really, all that stuff. Aston Villa played midweek in the Champions League. Aston Villa at home is good. Aston Villa is likely going to win. I like this game a lot. Aston Villa minus 125 at home against Bournemouth. I also like the under 2.5 and Liverpool Arsenal, and Liverpool much more a team that this year wants to control the game and have possession. Arsenal dinged up, probably without Saka, injury-wise, not what they've been. Very good defensively still. I think this is a low-scoring game. Both teams, grinding it out and not, nervous about falling too far behind Man City. I like this game a lot as an under. Those are the two games I like most. I'm sure I'll sprinkle on some others. For some reason in my gut says West Ham at home is a dog against Manchester United is the way to go. There are a few things like that. Brentford,
any normal sports you like this weekend?
I'll probably have some on football, but this is where I'm at. I like what you gave on football. I'm giving the other kind of football, and you can make your money early on Saturday, and then have
no
it for
World Series stuff. I was thinking about sprinkling Freddie Freeman with the injury. I kind of had a pure options bait take of him doing the Gibby thing somehow because he's injured with his ankle. I don't know if it appears they have to amputate after the season the way he limps out there. So I figured if he has a decent series, maybe has a big hit in Game 6 at 35-1. I don't know.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about this idea, and I think Jeff Passan from ESPN has been pushing the idea that this will test how big baseball can be, right? You got as big as stars you're ever going to have with Ohtani and Judge. You have two major markets, L.A. and Chicago, classic teams. Like, whatever the rating is here, this is baseball's ceiling. And I am less interested than ever because I need an underdog in there as well. I mean, I
would have been
some
better
of
with the Tigers,
Yeah, I mean, and I listened to another podcast. Not that there are other podcasts besides us, but if I was listening to a media podcast where they're two New Yorkers and they start making fun of Cleveland late in that series, like not even a real team, and it was.
Is this that David Sampson guy from Levitard?
No.
Okay.
It was such snobbery though that I was just like, fuck these guys, fuck New York, fuck it all.
Was it Phil Mushnick?
I'm like, even when Michigan State plays Rutgers this year, I think I'm going to stay in freaking New Jersey. I just piss me off. I'm just kidding, but I'm not interested in the World Series. I'm just not, and
it's understandable.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But do you feel like I feel like the public will feel the same way just because they're big TV markets? Are you bringing people that normally wouldn't watch a baseball series like this? Are you bringing them in? Because I think that's what helps grow the sport. Right?
Might.
I guess with the Ohtani, Judge, you got all these guys, Soto.
And Ohtani being a 50-50 guy. Like, if Ohtani was pitching too, that would be really cool. And I would probably tune in for that.
Yeah. I'm just bummed the Tigers aren't in it.
Yep.
That's all.
That's
why I can't really get excited. And I hate the Yankees. By the way, the minus 160 that Harry gave out on the Ohtani 6+ hits for the series, though, I think I might have to pay that much juice if it's still there before the series tonight.
That's a good play.
I don't see, if you think the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, how he doesn't have 6 hits in that.
That is a really good play. Let's dig into our Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Before we do, just wanted to send a note along too, and this was sent from our friend Andrew Gauthier about one of our listeners, Chris Husband, who wrote in and said, I live so far away now, but here Graham, speaking highly of you on Couch in the Rube, had to support by ordering a mug. And so one of the things I appreciate is when you guys do this. Like, you're supporting us when you support our sponsors. You know how we feel about these guys, and you're not in the area and you do stuff like this. It warms my heart. And so, look, Groovy Donuts are incredible. And if you're in the area ever for a game or you live here or wherever you can get here, get the donut yourself. I mean, it's orgasmic. But
in the past, it's weird. Does this mean that if the basketball season goes awry for the 5th straight year, he'll actually start to legitimately question the direction of the program under Izzo? No.
I'm not talking about Michigan.
Couch will not do that.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing. I guess it would depend the reasons for it. right? If
the game has passed Izzo by Graham hot takes,
right,
the show should be over, I think, after that.
Players weren't responsive or something to him. But if you like the roster now and it just doesn't develop in the speed that you want, does that change? I don't know. There are a couple thoughts I have on this, and I'm still formulating this a little bit. And it was interesting. Tom Izzo talked to us in that gangbang yesterday with Fred Human, and that we mentioned, and we talked about Tony Bennett, and he just he gets on his tangents about the sport overall. But when one of the things that it's very clear is that Izzo is not going to keep doing this if he can't do it in a way that he thinks is right, but also brings him right by his players, right by the program, but also brings him some enjoyment to some degree. And when you look at like doing it a different way entirely, the Illinois way, the Indiana way, like what results have they gotten that have really changed things? Purdue is doing it much like Michigan State to this point. They just had better players. So I'm still curious to see, and there are examples of people who've won big with the transfer portal and maybe less worrying about culture and development and recruiting over guys is the ultimate way to go. It's not going to be Izzo's way. Now, the direction of the program under him, I think if you get to a point where guys aren't developing and they're just the guys he's picking, like Cohen Carr isn't being the player I think he can be. Xavier Booker, who I think is going to struggle a little bit physically, but is going to have moments where he's, just so skilled. If things aren't happening for guys developing in the program, I guess I almost want to start the show over because I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying right now. But we're not going to do that because we're live. No, it's just the answer to your question is it's always possible. I could go either way, Eric. I apologize. That was a really bad answer. Hope nobody's listening.
Eric Schultz, finish these sentences. MSU wins if they blank, and Michigan wins if they blank.
MSU wins if they can run the football at all. And that doesn't mean consistently, but that means on some big downs and some moments, and limit it to one turnover or less. If those two things happen, I think MSU wins. Michigan wins if they can get after Childs and disrupt Michigan State's offense to the point that there are turnovers and that they just don't that Michigan's defense is just better than Michigan State's offense. Because I do think Michigan's offense sort of is what it is. It'll be a little bit of, they'll probably get to 14 points-ish. Maybe they get another touchdown, but I do not think they're going to have great quarterback play. They haven't all year. I think that's just who they are. They might be able to run the ball at times, okay. But I think ultimately it comes down to Michigan State's offense versus Michigan's defense and who wins that. So if Michigan's defense is able to pressure, collapse that offensive line, hit MSU's running backs in the backfield, make Childs feel rushed, and ultimately turn the ball over, Michigan wins.
But it's really that simple, right? I mean, if Michigan State turns the ball over one time or less, they win the game. If Michigan makes them turn the ball over two times, I think that Michigan can win that game easily. Right? I mean, it's just basically down to that. Because if you look back, you'd say, well, if Michigan throws the ball for 200-plus yards, they threw 100 for 200 yards against Illinois. They got beat 21-7. So I just do not turn the ball over if you're Michigan State tomorrow night. Just don't do it.
I think Michigan State has enough big plays in them that if they don't turn it over, they should win.
They got the guys.
Yep.
Dominic, sometimes I swipe right on a girl because I find the photo of her dog to be adorable. You think that's a good recipe for success?
There are worse reasons.
You sure it's the dog?
Well, yeah, but that's what he's saying.
No,
it's not her. Yeah,
I've comment on the girl being ugly. Anyway, but yes, it's a good start. If you like the dog, you absolutely, then whatever's attached to it, you don't want to blindly go in just by the looks of the dog, though.
But here's what I say. Somebody's appearance themselves is not always a great way to know if you're going to have a good connection with them. It's a way to know if you're instantly attracted.
It's a good start.
Yeah, it's not a bad start. I apologize.
It's a nice little base, and then when you meet for that first time.
I dated a girl who I liked her dog quite a bit, and long time ago, and that we had an affinity. It was one of the hardest things about the relationship ending was
because you love the dog so much.
Ending the relationship with the dog, yeah. So yeah, I would say this: if the dog is something you don't want to be around, like if the dog looks vicious or is drooling so much, whatever it is, then that's I don't think that if the dog's in the photo, the dog is a big part of her life, and so there's nothing wrong with.
Would you
looking at
ever
the dog.
stay with a woman just because you liked her dog so much? Like, would you stay an extra couple weeks or?
Couple weeks?
Yeah,
probably not.
Back when your dating days, like
probably not.
Yeah, like hanging out with this dog, and she's all right.
I mean, maybe subconsciously that would factor in, but not intentionally.
I got nothing better going on. I like your dog.
Yeah.
Dominic Graham. Graham, should the Menendez brothers be released? I wouldn't want to be caught in a Kalamazoo stairwell with them, if you know what I mean.
So
it's unbelievable. The Menendez brothers are going to get out.
Yeah.
What are they bigger podcast than ours?
30 years, something like that. They've been behind bars.
Yeah, it's enough time. You kill your parents,
Yeah, I don't know.
Right? I mean, they did enough time, I think.
I don't know enough about. I do have a People magazine cover with them on it that my wife brought home to me accidentally last night.
What?
So she was in Target, and she saw the cover of People magazine had our favorite Hallmark actress on it, Bethany Joy Lenz. And she wanted to bring that home to me. And we were going to read the article about this cult following of Bethany Joy Lenz, right? Naturally. And so, but the front issue was all kind of mangled and, torn up a little bit, And so she wanted to get one from the back so she grabbed one from the back thinking it would be in better shape and didn't actually look at the cover. And it was a totally separate issue with the Menendez brothers. So she came home and she's like, look what I brought you. I was like, all right, the Menendez brothers. Like, I didn't know. And she looked at it.
I mean, to catch up on this.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on. That is a story not worth telling, but told anyway. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. If you're looking for a place for a date night this weekend, trivia on Tuesdays, themed trivia often on Thursdays. Midtown Brewing Company is here for you. Unbelievable menu. They've got something for everybody. If you want comfort food, like I often do, they've got it. If you want something lighter, and they do everything they do really, really well. Great beer selection. The American Stout is one of my absolute favorite beers. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
I think that's beautiful, though. It's a good story to talk about, like a good marriage, because your wife actually, you talk on the show about how your wife hates everything you do or whatever.
No,
this podcast, but then she sees a People magazine. I thought you meant like she brought back like an old one from like the library or something, an old Menendez from the 90s.
No.
Yeah. Can't believe they're getting out. Dominic, why can no political interview yield any answers? Literally, nobody can answer a simple fucking question. Then just say, well, the American people want to talk about groceries. Just answer the fucking questions, you little needle dick fucks.
Nobody wants to say anything at this point that's, well, at least...
Then stop doing interviews then.
Well,
Let's just let us vote.
Nobody wants to say anything that's going to get them in huge trouble.
Fuck.
Yeah. I think Harris has handled most interviews fairly okay. There are things, absolutely, you'd love to hear. You'd love to hear it.
I bet you I could hear someone disagree with you in a half second, right?
Yeah,
with his interviews here. I mean, like, just please stop sending me shit. I'm so sick. How many more weekends during our football?
You got like 8 days.
Oh my God, Hertel and fucking Slotkin and I'm voting already. Just leave me alone.
I know when they come to the door, I'm getting increasingly short. I'm like, how do you not know that I vote? Like, how do you not know
how do you come to
vote?
the door still, though? Can we stop coming to the door?
That matters. Yeah.
Maybe in your weird neighborhood.
It was, they could tell. It was like, it was not good.
You think they knew who you were? And we're just like, my God, that Graham Couch guy is an ass.
Might be it now.
Who are you voting for, by the way?
Yeah.
Jesus. Dominic, where do both of you want to travel to next? Money not being an object. Like Northern Michigan for Couch, of course.
Yeah, Northern Maine, Banff, maybe, or Alaska or someplace like that. Yeah.
Maine looks beautiful. I definitely would like to get there. I don't know if it's so much, like, I don't know if I want to travel very far. I feel like I'm just such a simple guy with simple needs. You give me good weather. You give me some sporting events on TV at night. Take me wherever you want, wherever you're going to have me, I guess.
Yeah, I want to do like three weeks in England just watching soccer is what I want to do.
Yeah.
I just want to travel.
I'd like to go to Jamaica, smoke some weed,
there you go.
Rastafari's, Professor, how big of a lead would MSU need on Saturday before the Michigan fan base turns on them?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that. I think
21-0.
Well, and it depends how early it happens and how it looks too. Like if Michigan's offense isn't moving and Michigan State jumps up like 14-0 or something like that, you'd hear it quick.
The Lions start against the Vikings. If that happens against Michigan, I could see him turning.
Or you mean against Michigan State for Michigan?
Correct.
Yeah.
because that was devastating the way the Lions started last Sunday.
Well, I'm very curious to see what the vibe is and how quickly they will turn. And, because Twitter is not entirely real life. It's somewhat representative. And so what I see on social media and what I see from emails and comments and all sorts of stuff is not, how real is that to the tenor of the place? And if things do go wrong for Michigan, and I don't think Michigan's going to fall that far behind, but if they do, I think it's pretty quick. That would be my gut right now, but I don't know for sure.
Gotham volleyball dad. I'm a what? Are you fucking with me?
It says I'm.
Oh,
sorry.
I'm foolish.
Yeah, that's me.
It's early. We can't do that.
He didn't even screw that up. I did something, and yes, sorry.
Yeah, people know. Am I foolish to be concerned that Michigan will scheme? Can I do these again? Am I foolish to be concerned that Michigan will scheme to expose Cal Halliday with Edwards out of the backfield, receiving similar to Oregon and Ohio State?
Well, people are going to try to expose Cal Halliday. Having...
Can you expose a guy that's not wearing a wrist thingy? I don't think so.
The real key for Michigan State is not having him in there too much to have that happen and to use him in the ways you can. But, yeah, and there's no doubt. Halliday is not a perfect linebacker. But if you go back, Max Bulla was of similar flaw. Now, Max Bulla was a better player than Cal Halliday. But he was a downhill dude as well. And he was not very laterally quick. He could not cover that well. Very, very intelligent player. But they spent years hiding him on some of the best defenses they ever had, and they don't have quite the talent they had around Bulla. So that's the issue. But, yeah, that is going to be something teams try to do. But at this point, if you're Joe Rossi, you know that. And if you've got a healthy enough front seven, you should be able to game plan for it.
Corey Ostrom, why is the line for the MSU game jumping so erratically this week? Plus 3.5 yesterday, plus 5 today. I hopped on it today. So it went down to 3.5 yesterday.
It got up to 5.
Now it went back up to 5.
Yeah, just where the money is. It's a good question. Is that sharp money saying now it's too low? I don't know where the public is on this. Usually the public bets the heck out of Michigan, and Michigan's not a very good deal because of that. It's not usually representative of exactly who they are. But that's a good question. I don't know why people see.
Yeah, it did dip down plus 3.5 yesterday.
So now it's at 5?
4.5, and then now it's, I see it at plus 4.
Yeah, it depends where you see it.
Yeah.
I would check the Firekeepers Sportsbook app tomorrow morning, see where it's at. If you can still get it at 5, though, I think that's a pretty good play.
You usually don't see this kind of line.
You don't.
Fluctuation.
You don't.
It's kind of odd.
No.
Corey, why is apathy setting in so quickly with the Michigan fan base? They had to see this coming, at least to some degree. Been a wonderfully quiet week on the Twitter.
I don't know if it's apathy. I don't think there's apathy with Michigan football. People are fired up and frustrated. They're just not talking as much shit because they don't, you don't, when you don't feel good about your team. Think about last year with Michigan State football. There was zero shit talking. They knew every MSU fan knew what was going on. You pipe down.
And you don't feel great about your program currently, and people are talking about your head coach, Sharon Moore. Is he the right guy? So you're just kind of indifferent with this team. I think if Harbaugh were coaching this team, there would be still a lot of shit talk with the same record.
I think there's frustration when you think your coaching staff misevaluated your roster, and they went with these 3 unproven quarterbacks, or in Tuttle's case, sort of proven that he is what he is, and there's frustration in that. I think there's questions about whether they have the right guy, and there's concern. I don't think it's apathy. I think there's concern, and if Sharon Moore is your head coach at Michigan for 3 years before you realize he's not the guy, and maybe he still will be the guy, but he's not. And how far has the program fallen? What have you lost in that time? How well do you recruit? They just got a 5-star kid the other day. They're still recruiting well. They've still got a lot of depth of talent in that program. I think next year is a huge year for that program, because I don't think you necessarily lose where you are as a program and the momentum that's been made this one season. You had 3 straight Big Ten titles, whatever the asterisk people want to put on that. 3 straight Big Ten titles and a national championship, and then you lose your coach late, and you lost a ton of guys to the NFL, and you have a sort of a transition year is okay. It would help them immensely if they were also still able to beat Michigan State, but next year becomes very, very important because you don't want to fall too far.
David Jackson next. Have you ever seen a 1-week perception shift like this one before? where one team's ceiling and their opponent's floor had this kind of change in the week leading up to the game. Just consider Saturday's game if Iowa had beaten MSU 32-20 and Michigan had beaten Illinois 21-7.
Yeah,
I don't want to think about that, David.
I mean, I'm trying to think with this rivalry perception shifts. Like, think about Michigan State basketball, though, the Baylor game last year, and how that went from people being very frustrated with the start and frustrated with the team to all of a sudden thinking about national championships again, right? So that to me is we've seen this sort of thing but in terms of the two teams right before it, Michigan's been struggling all year, though. If Michigan had won 21-7 in Illinois, certainly, obviously if the games had gone differently, we'd think differently, but that's pretty obvious. I don't know if I've ever seen it, though, like this leading into a game, but I'm probably just not thinking of it.
Next one from David Jackson. Did the Illinois coach who convinced you that the 2013 Illini team was better than Michigan State have a successful career, or is he a used car salesman today?
No, he's way high up in the Illinois athletic department, and he was on that Illinois staff for a while. No, it's not Brett. No, he's outside of the football realm. Bright guy, and to give him some credit, he was on Western Michigan's staff when I was there, and I used to let him pick my pick for when I was picking Western Michigan games sometimes. Like, all right, what do I got this week? And we did that for like a year or two when I was there, and it was fun. It was kind of like, and he was pretty good at it because here's a guy who would have the pulse of the team. He was like, he wouldn't, like if they were going to lose or they weren't practicing well, he would give me a prediction that was relevant to that. And so and he thought things were going really well for Illinois. I don't think any of us realized MSU was quite as good as they were.
Did you ever take some of that info and sprinkle with your offshore?
Not when I was covering them, no. But that's back when I had sportsbook.com and was doing the...
Not one little sprinkle?
I bet on the MAC pretty hard. He would give me intel on the MAC. I bet on other games in the MAC pretty hard, yeah.
Counter Stallion's couch. David Jackson, is it okay to mention that any Couch in the Rube regular contributor is welcome to message me on Saturday afternoon, and I'll gladly join their tailgate near the stadium. But don't get your hopes too high. I'm funnier on Twitter than I am in real life.
Uh-oh, David. I don't know.
And that's impossible.
Yeah.
And by the way, you could have David at your tailgate, and you could just throw random trivia questions at him, and he'll answer every single one.
Yeah. No,
the guy knows MSU trivia.
David would be a good tailgate hang. So yeah, reach out to David. Michigan's actually a pretty good tailgate spot, right, with the golf course there and the way it's set up. I think it's not a bad tailgate.
You can have all that. Jebediah, what's a more likely inverse result of tomorrow's game where MSU wins in this scenario? The 2012 game or the 2018 game?
So the 2012 game was the exhale game, right? That was the game where Michigan had lost a bunch in a row, and you could just hear it in the stadium when they kicked that field goal to win. I would say it's probably the 2012 game, just because that Michigan, the 2012 game.
Andrew Zuiza, when the MSU defensive back was jarring back and forth with the Iowa receiver, do you think the receiver just said, "My QB is ass. Nothing you say is my fault"?
I doubt it, but it is hard to trash talk when you don't have a quarterback if you're a receiver. It's like, what do you want
I was open, man.
What do you want me to do here?
It's his fault.
Yeah. I beat you. Yeah, I just didn't get the ball.
He's Cade McNamara. I mean, what am I supposed to do? Andrew Zuiza, will MSU basketball's fast break be elite again this year?
I think it'll be better because I think Jeremy Fears is somebody who naturally wants to push the ball, and that we can see. And one of the reasons they're putting Cohen Carr at the 3 so much more than the 4 right now is, and Carr's looked good there from what I've seen, is because they want him running the wing. It's how they want Cohen Carr to fit in their fast break, and they like what he is on the wing in that situation. I think Akins is good on the break. So I do think it'll be an improved break. Elite, we'll have to see, because one of the keys to an elite break is rebounding and also outlet passes. And they've had guys over the years that were great outlet passers. And I don't know that we know if they have that now, but that is a really essential part of that dynamic.
Travis Maynard, it's early, but my gut says Jeremy Fears, Xavier Booker, and Cohen Carr are in this for the long haul. And regardless of the season they have, they all stay at least another year. Starting 2025, ranked top 3. So besides give me donuts, what's your gut tell you about who's sticking around, Graham?
So I don't think Fears would. I mean, given his size, given the injuries come off of, I don't think Fears is a one and done dude. If that happens, I would be very, very surprised. Xavier Booker will be interesting because physically he's going to get pushed around at times. Like, he's just not a naturally aggressive guy. And I asked Izzo this yesterday about, like, have you ever had a guy before that has not been naturally aggressive?
Don't coach my team.
That has then had that become a strength, where you're just on free throw cutouts and everything. You're just, throwing your body into people and becoming the physical player you need to be. And he has more strength and he has more weight, but it's just not in his nature. And I think that's going to be a challenge for him because, while he has a skill set that the NBA is going to drool over, and he could go pro, I think, if he has a decent year at any point, because the NBA will take that. Like, he's got a rebound and he's got a shot protect at a certain level, and I don't know if those things are there. I wouldn't be surprised if Booker, did another year, because he's got level-headed parents. His NIL situation's pretty good. I would still lean towards him leaving after this year if it goes decently, just because the lure of the NBA is there, and I think the NBA will take him. But I don't think it would hurt him to do another year. Cohen Carr, I think, got more time in him, because Cohen Carr, and you watch him do, athletically, he is somebody that the NBA would be intrigued by. But from a skill standpoint, there's such development that still has to come. And I think, some of it we'll find out pretty quickly how far away he actually is, and I think there will be some improvement this year. But he's a guy who's going to have to make shots and also just be a dogged defender. And he's big enough, if he's a dogged defender on the wing and he can work on a shot, that he could be a guy who sticks in the NBA. But that, he would be wise to get that done at the college level.
But talking about these guys leaving, the caveat is, they possibly, you never know who could leave if this team goes on a run. They go on a run in March, and then they maybe get evaluated, kind of like a couple guys have done in the past, where maybe some NBA scouts tell them, hey, this is where you're going to go. So that's the caveat you got to throw in there when you talk about guys not coming back.
Yeah, but you think about it,
early on this year.
They looked great in the NCAA tournament to some degree in 2000.
I'm saying like a run though, right? Like a Final Four championship game level run, where some of these guys, obviously your guys are exceeding expectations getting there. So maybe
the NBA only cares so much about that, though. You really do have to be.
It's a lot of speculation. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there's a chance that a number of these guys come back, and if that will ultimately go deciding that they want to keep developing at Michigan State, and if that leads to, then he's doing something that most programs aren't. And it helps that Michigan State has a decent NIL situation for Izzo, and that he also has not really recruited over guys. And so I think that's a dynamic that most teams aren't going to be able to do both of. I'll be very curious to see, I want to see Illinois, which is basically a brand new roster. Does that work? Because that's the alternative. And Indiana, which puts a ton of money in and looks like a really good team, what are they actually going to be? And maybe they'll be fantastic this year, and that really shows the way that you can buy a roster. And then you're going to have to adjust if you want to win titles.
Bo McJunkins, once Izzo retires, does the Champions Classic keep us? MSU is 5-8 in the games, and we haven't exactly lit the world on fire recently. I need this year to have a deep run.
I think it's more likely that they, and who else? Kansas. How much longer is Bill Self there? He's had some health issues.
Oh, we can't do this without Bill Self.
Bigger. I guess Kentucky, Duke, and Kansas are all bigger basketball sort of blue blood brands. But I think there's a chance the whole thing goes away at some point. But I don't think MSU gets dropped from it unless Izzo's gone and there's just this.
But where's Izzo going?
Well,
he might be retired, but it's not like he's going away. He'll make phone calls, be like, "Why are you getting rid of us?" That kind of shit.
He won't even know who to call. He calls it the Tournament of Champions. He won't even realize it's the Champions Classic.
He'll have someone. Bo McJunkins. Graham, you say Izzo is recruiting great, yet we aren't even in the top 25 to start the year. Yeah, the polls are bullshit, but if we're recruiting so well, isn't this underachieving if we can't even get to number 25? Love the guy, but I'm sick of 13-plus losses a year.
What were they headed into last season? Were they highly ranked? I can't even remember, because they had everybody coming back and the recruiting class, and then they underachieved with it. So people are not going to – you lose all those guys. people aren't going to give you that respect coming into the year, nor should you. MSU should have to prove it with this group. Again, the polls are such bullshit. They're so bad. There's so little time that goes into most of these. I wouldn't worry about it. Now, I think being sick of 13 plus losses a year is an absolutely fair way to feel. But I don't know that the way they're perceived right now has anything to do with anything, because they're going to have to prove it this year that they may or may not be good, but it's not based on what somebody knows who's ranking them. So just don't worry about that.
Next one from Bo Graham. I know the reporters are doing what they're supposed to do, but can you explain why reporters decide to ask Franklin questions Penn State says they're not going to answer? Not sticking up for Penn State just seems like wasted time if you know you're not going to get the answer. Franklin
handled it horribly, and in case you didn't know, there are a couple of guys with some rape allegations, maybe even charged. I don't want to get that wrong, involved with the Penn State program. And so their SID, who sounds annoyed by the reporter's presence, reads this statement.
It's understandable.
So your job is to work with reporters. It's why you have a job. It's why you're there, to work with the media.
I mean, who could be annoyed by this?
I will. And then Franklin comes out, and they, I think it was Audrey who asked the question.
Dahlgren?
Report. No, not Dahlgren. I don't have it pulled up. I apologize. But good question and fair question. And all he had to say, instead of walking away and having the guy come out and chastise him, is saying, "Hey, I really can't comment on this. I will at some point." A couple things. He's the highest paid public employee, and I'm sorry, but you are the representative of a football program. You're the guy getting paid to be there and answer the questions. Just answer the question, or say you can't answer the question. Don't walk away. The theater of it was just stupid. And the other reason you have to ask these questions is they'll say you can't. They'll say, "Well, we can't answer anything right now because of investigation." But what really ought to be asked is then, but you're telling me when the investigation is over, day one, you'll be standing right here, so when you can answer them, you will. Because what happens is they just hope it fades away. If you're not going to, you got to answer them at some point. And there's just such a better way. The communication that
somebody could say Penn State hasn't handled things
some public
in a long time.
Michigan State struggled with this at times too. Everybody, like, the communication plays a struggle with. Where if you are James Franklin, to say, "Hey, this is an active investigation. I understand your job is to ask about it. I really can't get into it right now."
But isn't that what the first guy said when he came out and said, "Listen, he's not going to be able to answer anything"?
Franklin needs to say he's not some China doll protective. Like, what are we doing here?
You can see where the aggravation comes from when you have someone that does say it. I agree with you. If I'm Franklin, I go, "You guys understand? I can't say anything right now.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about anything, I don't know why you even need that guy to talk for you."
Correct. You are a grown fucking man. Yeah. Answer your own question. I appreciate people who are in public relations. I appreciate people who are sports information directors. They do a lot of stuff to make our lives easier. They do a lot of stuff and they have a job to do as well. But there are times where if you have a problem with me or you have an issue, you need to be the direct line. One of the things I like about Izzo is when he's really pissed off at me, I don't hear from somebody usually at MSU. I hear from him. There's nothing ever stopping you from picking up the phone and calling me. And James Franklin could have handled that really well and just said, I can't talk about it right now.
And maybe the SID, that's who it was, right, for Penn State that announced it beforehand. Maybe he was a little pissed off at Franklin. Maybe it wasn't the reporters at all, and he was kind of like, "I can't believe I got to read this." And listen, I can understand if you're not in it on a day-to-day basis on both sides of how you both can be annoying.
100%. I'm not saying reporters,
but I'm with you though, Franklin. Just say it, man. You're a football coach. No one gives a shit. First of all, and I can understand if you don't want to, if there's still charges pending or there is charges that you just want to say, "I can't talk about it." What else do you guys want to talk about?
The job is to ask questions.
Yeah.
All right. So,
but now if you get them after you say that, then I can understand walking out. Then go like, "Listen, if you guys aren't going to do this, then I'm out."
Reading a statement shouldn't keep you from all unpleasantness. Right. I'm sorry. And that's just part of the gig.
Yeah. Bo McJunkins, why did no one bother to get MSU's side of the tunnel story? What started it? Find it hard to believe they just randomly started hitting people.
Well, no, I think they were provoked a little bit, but they weren't provoked with violence, and that's what people need to know. What Michigan State's
Graham.
What Michigan State's guys did wasn't right. You can't you just can't start swinging at people because you're unhappy with something they said to you, and that part we know. I think,
not with a helmet.
Yeah, I mean, some of this. I mean, I don't know if all the details of exactly what was said has ever come out, but they were provoked in some way. I don't think it was 100% just random chose a guy, but it wasn't that the person started hitting them first. And so the violence was 100% uncalled for.
But with all the content we have out, like no one's tried doing like a
I can't
not say
I
even
think
say
we
like
have.
an expose, but like I don't know, like a rehash of what happened. Or are we trying to distance ourselves from those shenanigans? I guess.
I'm not trying to distance myself from anything. I just maybe I've lost interest in that, or just
I'd watch an hour special on it.
I don't know why that happened. I'm a little surprised.
Just a half hour on Solari's video alone. But with him on the phone.
You think about the number of reporters that are, and this is not bashing reporters or sort of fan reporters, but they're the ones who actually care about this. They're the ones who are triggered by U of M. And so, like this, I'm surprised that stuff doesn't come out because they're sourced well enough to do it in some cases. And
come on, Rico, get on it.
And they give a shit, right? Yeah.
Steve, MSU versus Michigan, Harris versus Trump. Which argument with a friend ends in violence? And is it possible to have more political ads? Wish there was a way to opt out if you already voted.
Well, if you have already voted, you at least don't get the text anymore, which I like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah. If you vote early, you don't get text.
They should announce that. I'm in. Where do I vote?
There's early voting happening in a lot of places.
Hand me the ballot. Where is it? Can I go online?
I vote day of. I'm always a day of guy. I like the day of. I don't like absentee. I like being there. I like doing it. So that's
Teresa's going by herself this year. Not getting any fights.
You're not going to vote?
Yeah, I'm going to vote, penis. What do you expect? Yes, I'm going to vote. I was just joking that my wife gets a little riled up around some of these Trump peoples almost.
Oh, I got you.
And I just don't. I just don't. I'd rather talk Michigan State, Michigan all fucking day till my eyes bleed than politics right now. I could care less.
Which argument ends with a friend in violence? Hopefully neither. The idea is neither ends
what
with
exit?
Violence.
You imagine. Ethan Charmella, what's the reaction to the Detroit Bowl if MSU lands there? Is that strictly a 6-6 destination, or is it still on the table? Do you think it's 7-5?
I'd have to look at the. I don't know, because some of it's not just.
You mean the Tommy Schuster Bowl that he'll play in if they make it the Detroit Bowl?
Well, no, I mean as long as Childs is not leaving, he's not opting out. If you're not going to the NFL, you're not opting out.
Yeah, he is. He's not playing that. Are you out of your mind?
He's playing. If you're not opting,
he's not playing in the Detroit Bowl. Come on. No. He's going to have a hamstring or something.
Detroit Bowl would love to have MSU. I don't.
Well, no shit.
MSU obviously doesn't want to be there.
No. Ethan Charmella, who's the better player as a sophomore? Xavier Booker this season or Nick Marsh next season?
Give me Nick Marsh next season. I think Nick Marsh is on his way to being a real star, and we already see that. And Nick Marsh as a freshman is way ahead of where Xavier Booker was as a freshman. So give me Nick Marsh. I think Booker's going to have a good year. I just think there are things about his game that are still more in the development stage, and that in terms of just his physical, what he brings physically in terms of rebounding and toughness, and that some of that is going to still be frustrating. He's going to hit a number of threes this year that are going to be maybe game-changing or momentum swings, and he's going to have some quick dunks in the in the paint and all that stuff. But physically, I think he's still got a little ways to go, whereas Nick Marsh, at 17 years old, I mean, I'm not saying he could actually play in the NFL, but physically, when you're next to him, you're like, holy crap, that guy is already ready for this.
I can't wait for next year to sprinkle Nick Marsh 2+ TDs. I can see myself doing it right now. Parker Weiss next. Why hasn't ball security seemed to be addressed with the offense? Childs is the main culprit, but I've seen running backs, receivers, and tight ends not cover the ball up when running through traffic or bracing to be tackled. You'd think that would be corrected after watching the film.
I'm sure it's something they work on. I guarantee it's something they work on.
Skip right past that.
Yeah. Screw it.
That's last week.
Yeah. I mean, it's been addressed. It's been addressed.
Here, hold this ball for the whole practice.
Yeah.
Try to smack it out.
It's been addressed.
Moving on. Sports Guy 1919. Did Graham have his worst take ever this year?
Possible.
He stated earlier this season that the NIL transfer portal would make upsets very rare in college football. The following weekend, NIU beat Notre Dame, and we've had an onslaught of upsets since. I guess that would put that take up there.
Well, okay.
But we really need a bracket of your worst takes again, I think.
Yeah, but that would be a good 16 take bracket.
Yeah. Ken Palm, get on that.
I would argue this in defense of my take. We have not seen a myriad of upsets because they don't play each other of mid-majors versus high majors, and that's what that's about. I still don't think that the mid-major schools are going to as often have the high-end players that allow for those upsets to happen. And I think there's going to be more parity at the high major level, but where places in the MAC where there is zero NIL, just about. And if you think about Northern Illinois. Let's just talk about NIU, which this year has most of its guys together. They've kept it together. Great. But hold on. Give me some Hoff.
Off.
Come on.
I am the passenger.
Absolutely. I mean, fucking everybody masturbates.
I ride through the city's backside. I see the stars come out of the sky. Yeah, the bright and
All right.
hollow
So
sky.
think about let's go these guys right now. Garrett Wolf, you remember, who played in the NFL for a little while, great player at NIU.
How could you not?
Michael Turner played for a long time with the Falcons and was a great NFL player.
Mm-hmm.
Do those guys stay at NIU throughout their career these days? Do you get that guy? Like that guy somewhere else? I covered a team with.
Those are the two names you picked, though.
Yeah, they're great running backs of the last 20 years, is what I'm saying. Greg Jennings, who I covered, or Tony Scheffler, or Louis Delmas.
Yeah.
All the players who made, some of the guys. What's his nuts from Central Michigan, who is the nutbag receiver?
Aiden Mahomes.
Fuck you. God damn it. Troy
Polamalu?
Antonio Brown.
Oh.
Antonio Brown.
Cockburn.
What I mean is the guys who allow these teams to be able to compete and great and have advantages against the high majors, are those guys going to be there? So I still don't think those sort of guys are going to be there.
All right. Alex Seabass next, with NIL essentially being the main reason most top-tier talent commits to a school. Does an MSU win this week have less impact on top-ranked in-state recruits?
Probably so. Yeah, I think money is a larger percentage of the pie in terms of recruiting people, but it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt if your program is seeing on the rise. If your program is seeing is headed in the right direction, if being some place that people want to be, that still matters. But is it matter a little less? Probably.
Jumping kitten kisses. The NIL might be making college football better. Looking at the top 25, I've counted 10 teams that are having great seasons that no one saw coming, including their fan base. Seems like the future has more to do with development, loyalty, and a few big NIL deals.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that there is a chance for more parity with it, and that may be a good thing. Saban being gone from the game, which could help. There are a lot of things that are fascinating right now. I mean, Clemson getting it together and all of a sudden looking like a playoff team, and him refusing to do the portal because he thinks if he starts to bring in the guys from the portal, he's going to lose guys to the portal. And right now, he sort of kept that thing together. Izzo said yesterday he's rooting like crazy for Dabo, which is not surprising.
Calm down, Tom.
Yeah,
really. That's where we're at. We're rooting for Dabo now.
The problem with college football is not NIL. Look, there have always been the problem to me with college football is much more, in college basketball, is the ability to transfer without sitting out, even when your coach doesn't leave, and bounce around year after year to different schools. It's not great for kids, not great for programs, not great for culture of teams. But in terms of parity, it will help. And NIL itself is a component of that, but it's NIL coupled with that. NIL itself is not necessarily the issue.
But back to Clemson, let me ask you, what is their best victory? What's their best win that they have?
Right, hold on, give me some more.
Off.
Looks so good tonight.
After losing to Georgia, you tell me an impressive W here.
All right.
I am a passenger.
Absolutely. I mean, fucking everybody masturbates. They've not really played anybody, but they're beating a lot of people good. And this week will be interesting. They play a decent Louisville team. and so that'll be a little more telling. They go to Virginia Tech the week after that, and then in a couple weeks they play number 19 Pittsburgh, is undefeated right now. So that'll be a little more telling on the road.
Another week fake team. Please.
Well,
Pitt hasn't played anybody either.
What do you want them to do? Then everybody in their league?
No, I don't want people blowing. I don't want to say like all of a sudden Dabo's back now and Pittsburgh is unbelievable. 7 undefeated Pittsburgh team. The way you're talking with bass in your voice, it's just a phony Pittsburgh team.
No, Dabo isn't even done what Izzo's done. Like Izzo has at least gone out and
be hard-headed.
Well, yeah, I mean,
get a big man.
What I mean is, Dabo is getting nobody. Whereas when they had a needed receiver, like Izzo's gone out and gotten a big wing, right? He went out and got Frankie Fiddler, right? He went out and got Tyson Walker. Dabo's not doing that. So Tyson Walker was the best player on Michigan State's team for a couple of years. That was a transfer that he went out and got.
So Dabo, what I'm saying is Dabo's way will beat these teams that we're seeing on their schedule right now. Will he beat some of the top-tier, top 5 teams? I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe not. We'll find out.
Yeah, BPA, it's clear to see that the Aiden Childs game is coming. While Saturday night would be epic, what's your pick for the Aiden Childs official breakout game? If Will Johnson is out, I'm taking Saturday night. I mean, come on, how could it not be Saturday night? If he does it against Michigan.
I mean, he's had a couple games, but a breakout game. We're talking breakout game. When you think of breakout game, it's a game that sort of you remember for all time. That's an Aiden Childs game, a game where he had a few big plays that were really memorable in key times, played great because he's had some games that are already pretty good. I just don't know. It is probably coming at some point, but there's no way to know.
How about
when it's
no
happening.
turnovers? We can see that. That would be awesome.
Michigan's defense is better than some of the defenses they're going to face. So the idea that, and so Michigan State's probably not going to have the most help around Aiden Childs in terms of running the football and other things. So if it happens this week, it's a legitimate breakout game. It's a legitimate moment. And if it happened, it would help send him on his way in terms of expectations and legend status and all that stuff. But I think it's probably more likely to happen somewhere else. Now, the problem is you can't do it against Purdue. It doesn't count against Purdue. You can't he went 300 yards and he was great against Purdue. That's not like a game you remember 20 years from now. It has to be a moment that people really remember in a big game. It could potentially happen against Indiana or something like that. But this would be a big week that would be memorable, certainly.
Pablo Ciccone up next. Am I the only one who sees this Michigan game as an easy W? No way Michigan is better than Iowa, and we left several points on the board, off the board. Our running game takes a step back this game, but Childs remains hot. Our D is strong again. Spartans by 20. Fuck Michigan.
If you want to feel like Pablo in your life and you're a little on edge, I'm telling you, Pure Options is here for you. Before you get into this weekend, go to pureoptions.com, location nearest you, swing on by, get a few MGs, some great deals going on this month, and just great quality. I'm telling you right now, it's more of a, they would say the craft beer versus the Miller Lite if you're looking for an alcohol comparison. Just, again, pureoptions.com, feel like Pablo. There's a chance that Kamala Harris wins in a landslide. There's a chance Michigan State wins big. Like, we just don't freaking know. We don't know, right?
Could go either way.
Yeah, I mean,
this whole thing's about life.
I do not see it as an easy W. I don't, because I think Michigan's defense is going to be a problem for Michigan State at times.
But is an easy W if they don't turn the ball over?
I think
it's an easy W if you can tell me that.
I think so. I think they're going to.
Nobody can tell me
if they don't turn the ball over a single time, Michigan State, I think they're going to win.
Yeah. Dang it, Bobby. Next, Will Childs establish himself as the great hero of this rivalry and villain to Michigan? Would be great to see some swagger and cockiness out of him.
And obviously he's got more time, at least another year to do that. So I don't know if it'll happen this year. But if you want to be a legend at Michigan State and you do it in this game, people remember you forever. There's no question about it. Like, people feel like Tony Banks was a pretty average quarterback at Michigan State for all the talent he had. And I know he's a second-round pick and played in the NFL, but he had made a lot of mistakes too.
But I can still hear my dad yelling about Tony Banks.
But but that 1995 game, people remember. Yeah. People remember Nigea Carter. They remember because of that game. Like, you can have moments in that game that obviously change how you remembered.
Yeah, next one from Dang It Bobby. What is your favorite item at the Costco food court? You really can't go wrong.
I'll answer this, but the first thing I'll say is the best thing about Costco in the Lansing area is it's really close to the Lake Lansing Groovy Donuts. So if you're going to Costco, you are so close. They're open 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Thursday through Sunday. So if you're in that window, get yourself a Groovy Donut first of all, it'll make, if you don't like being at Costco, some people love Costco.
I don't get it.
I'm not allowed to go to Costco because I love the shrimp that they have there, and I always get lots of shrimp, and then I always get beef and then just throw it in the cart, and Elizabeth's like, we're buying like $7,000 worth of beef here. I'm like, this looks really good. So I'm not really allowed to go, but if I'm over in that area, I'm always going to Groovy Donuts. And if you're thinking about your tailgate this weekend, be it in Ann Arbor, be it in your own living room, wherever it might be, Groovy Donuts is here for you. They also have great Halloween offerings, and this is just something to think about because Halloween is obviously next week, next Thursday. They're open Thursday morning, Halloween morning, 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so if you want to have donuts as you're handing out candy, I wouldn't hand out the donuts specifically, but you could do it. You could try. GroovyDonuts.com. Place your order today. They've got great Halloween donuts and just all sorts of cool offerings. GroovyDonuts.com. 2 locations, Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing, and also in Williamston.
But I don't get like I understand that people love Costco. You love going there and getting your fun comfort shit. Like I get that. More power to you. I just don't get the passion and love. Like my sister and her boyfriend, they love Costco. He's got like Costco clothes and shit. Like T has like a friend. I guess her husband I'm sorry, I can't remember your guys' names, but apparently he goes and stops by Costco and grabs a hot dog. Like if he's just in the vicinity.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, but dude, that's a giant ass parking lot. Like I'm saying, I get it. They have items that are $1.50 and stuff, and that's crazy. Should we be really shocked by that? And you're going to stop there, walk all the way in, you have to show that little Costco card, and then you just walk over and get a hot dog and then walk back out. I mean, hate simple things in life. I get, but I
don't hate Costco. I'm just not disciplined enough to shop there.
Yeah. G.E. Miller, how many playoff appearances would Michigan have had without building their program on the back of the largest cheating scandal in NCAA history?
We won't know. We'll never know the impact. We're just not going to know. I still think, like you watched last year's team, I think they're in the playoffs. And now the thing is, it's how does what they did with Connor Stallions and the outside scouting that wasn't allowed, how does that translate to wins which feed on themselves? You know, we'll never know exactly. My own hunch, and again, I'm not saying it didn't have an impact. My own hunch is they still make the playoffs at least a couple of those years.
G.E. Miller, if MSU wins and sanctions come down on Michigan, should Jonathan Smith raid Michigan's commits?
Sure. Yeah, why not? I mean, you should
fucking A.
That goes into divorce court to drag his college football coach onto the stand and say his fault. I didn't know what a commitment was. I did not realize when I married her that I couldn't also visit other schools or other women, so to speak, because the word commitment doesn't mean shit. That's why we use the word pledge and we don't use it, and it shouldn't be. But, I mean, seriously, what are we teaching these guys? I'm sorry, it's one of my tangents.
It's so funny when you get angry. G.E. Miller, if Indiana goes 11-1, are they in the college football playoff?
Yeah, if they go 10-2, they should be in the college football playoff. 10-2, I think, in the Big Ten from here on out will get you in the college football playoff, unless you have some like really atrocious loss somewhere that's, 10-2 should get them in. You just got to be in the top 12. And, and obviously they haven't played the toughest schedule, but hold on. Hang on one sec.
Off. He's tired.
Under glass, I look through my window so bright.
So let's say they're going to lose to Ohio State because we think that's more than likely. And that means that they lose one game to Washington, Michigan State. See, they probably can't lose to Purdue on November 30th, but they shouldn't. And Michigan is the other game on November 9th. But say they say they lose to MSU and beat Washington and beat Michigan and beat Purdue. I think at 10-2 they're going. I do. They're 13th right now in the AP poll. Whatever that means doesn't mean shit. But I think ultimately we'll see when in like a week from now we get the first college football rankings and sort of where they are. I think 10-2 will probably get them in the playoff.
Chris Eastlick next. Is Antonio Gates Jr. hurt? Surprised we are not seeing more of him.
Yeah, I do not think it's an injury situation, from what I understand, and I would be surprised if you see him again.
Chris Eastlick, how can we get Jack Velling going? Expected him to be a much larger part of the offense.
Yeah,
better weather.
He's had some moments, but I think also I think sometimes our expectations for these guys, like if Jack Velling was an NFL tight end, he would have left for the NFL, and he wouldn't be at Michigan State. You know what I mean?
But who's asking him to be an all-pro? Or just like, where is the guy? He's a starting tight end.
Right.
Seems like tight ends are nice to use every once in a while when your offense isn't working great.
But think about the best tight ends you think of been around MSU or college football. Those guys have all played.
He's just asking about getting them going.
Yeah.
It's not saying like, where is this guy? Why is he not scoring?
It's a good
2
question.
touchdowns a game.
I thought he'd be a much bigger part of things, and actually some of the other tight ends at times have been. Yeah, I thought he would be a bigger part of things than he has been. I don't know what the answer is there.
Eastlick, who is more hateable in this World Series, the Yankees or Dodgers, and who wins?
Who do you hate more?
Oh, it's the Yankees, and it's easy because the Dodgers have Shohei, and I love watching Shohei. But the Yankees with Susan Waldman and with the other douche, that old fart that's up there, Sterling. Ugh.
They're not actually doing these games.
Yeah, but they annoy me. I get it as Yankee fans that you would have some love for them, but when you tune in and you see Michael Kay or like those other New York people,
I'm far more annoyed by the Yankees than the Dodgers. Both of them, buy championships here.
The Dodgers have Mary Hart. She's always like at every game. She's the first person I look for whenever there's a Dodgers game. So
yeah,
go Dodgers. Alex Mayer, Michigan will have potentially multiple first-round draft picks this year. State definitely has NFL talent on the roster, but it's all younger. How many Spartans do you think get drafted this year?
That's a good question. It's a really good question in terms of
Cal Halladay.
I don't think he's getting drafted.
No?
No. It's a good question. You think about veterans who are going to be done this year who have a chance to get drafted. I really don't know. It's a great question. Maybe Jordan Turner, it's a good question because a lot of these guys, what you don't know right now is where the NFL sees them in terms of 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. Sometimes you don't see, but the NFL likes a bunch of these guys, or they wind up being easily a late round draft pick, and you just don't know. But you're right to that point that.
If you're a player, though, would you rather have someone that covers the team say that they weren't going to get drafted or they're like a 6th, 7th round pick? I just he's not getting drafted. Because you said some of those guys are 6th, 7th round picks.
Or could be.
Not really.
I didn't say they are. I said they could
I understand.
Be, yeah.
I mean, it could be. It's even worse. I mean, we're just.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're
better off just going, I don't know.
Yeah.
Change the name of the podcast.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Either way. Alex Mayer, is you pushing your best friend down the stairs the best story ever told?
Okay.
Well, I mean, besides, the hate part of the story.
There's no hate. And I didn't push.
Well, I mean, if you shove someone down a flight of stairs.
I didn't shove him down the stairs.
We're not, okay, not you, but someone did push this gentleman down the stairs.
He was
allegedly.
not my best friend either.
Wow, now the story's getting really real. It's been best friend the whole time.
No, it's not.
Now he's just a casual friend you barely knew. I mean, we're past the fact that you actually did it. We get it. This is all in jest, but now you're just throwing out the friendship.
Either way.
But he died 2 weeks after.
No, it was 3 weeks later. 3 years later.
3 years? Now it's 3 more. What is this story even real? This is an even real story.
It's a real story. A story we're telling, presented by Midtown Brewing Company. I can't even attach them to this. I apologize.
Did you really do a live read out of that?
Yeah.
All right. Jarrett, should MSU win even if... How is this a podcast? Jarrett, should MSU win even if Aiden Childs gets hurt? Schuster.
Probably not.
Come on, Tommy.
I mean, it's not that Tommy Schuster couldn't do it, but like I think one of the reasons.
Would it surprise you?
But no, you need somebody who's got some mobility and agility and is a playmaker. Michigan State has a couple advantages over some of the teams they play, and it's because they have guys like Nick Marsh and Aiden Childs who are bona fide playmakers. And if you take one of those guys away, I think it gets real hard for Michigan State to win a game against a defense like this.
Jarrett, will the Vikings make the playoffs? Another team goes down last night
after
playing the Lions.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, because if you just look at the standings and who's going to get into the 7 seed in both leagues, the AFC especially, not great teams are going to be grabbing those last spots in the playoffs. And Minnesota is still 5-2. I'll also be surprised if Minnesota.
Who is going to be on the roster a month from now? That's the thing you have to ask yourself, because you can say all this stuff and speculation of
quarterback wise.
Anybody of any of these guys that get hurt and they're out for the year, and it's just in the NFL, it's just wild.
Yeah,
see guys go out.
I think they're in.
Double down, Dougie. What is each team's biggest Bush League moment in this rivalry, and why does Michigan own 9 out of the top 10?
The biggest Bush League moment for me is not Devin Bush, by the way, in the pregame warm up. The biggest Bush League probably is the the tent stake from Joe Bolden in 2014 when you're that they lost 35-10 that year. Like, what are you doing? Like, it was just really, really stupid. Now for Michigan State, it's Bush League moment is without a doubt the tunnel fight. Like, that's just, come on. Like,
I'll take that. It's a good trade-off. Yeah. Matt C., how come all these fanboys covering Michigan don't mention that no longer knowing the opposing team's plays makes it much harder and is responsible for the drop-off? It's comical, the excuses they always make while whistling by the biggest factor. Hell yeah, Matt C.
Yeah.
Well, he's right, though. Can't believe these Michigan writers just walk by. How dare you not ask that question?
I mean, it's clear, there is a clear divide. They're divided into lots of things in this country. There's a divide between the people who think the Stallions was a huge impact and those don't. I think he had a somewhat impact. I think he was really good at what he did. The problem is, most schools apparently are supposed to be doing what he was doing outside of paying people to go to games and advance scout, right? That's what you're not allowed to do. But the actual deciphering signs, he was just really good at, and that's an important part of, to a lot of schools, what they do. A lot of schools steal signs. Like, that's not illegal. That's not allowed. That's not within the purview of what all these schools are doing. And I think it's because it's hard to measure the impact that it had.
All right, Matt C. Is the Detroit News trolling MSU fans by hiring a guy who worked at Michigan with M Go Blue in his Twitter profile to cover Michigan State? Glad they now have their own ESPN Dan Murphy-level troll. Every Michigan State fan should boycott the Detroit media and subscribe to the LSJ.
Well, Matt, I appreciate you, and I appreciate the LSJ. We'll gladly take your money and make it very difficult to unsubscribe. But the what you have to know is the Detroit News is hired a new person to replace Madeline Kenny, who we had on the show last week.
Yep.
And let me pull up his Twitter profile here, because what I think
we're dropping MFers now.
I got it here. Connor Eargood from and it says Forever the Block M. Now, what people have to realize is it's an unfortunate name for the student newspaper as their Twitter handle, but that's the student newspaper. That's the Michigan Daily Sports section. It's called the Block M. That's all he's talking about. I feel the same way about the Columbia Chronicle in Chicago, where I was. I love that place, and so that's what he's talking about. And he is somebody who, more than a lot of people who cover Michigan, went after Harbaugh and held him to account. I mean, he is a talented young guy. He just happened to go to Michigan. And most people are going to go to Michigan or Michigan State in this. Well, not most people, but a lot of people. There's two major universities in this state. And so a lot of people are going to come from one place or another. And, if you came up with a rule that you can't go to Michigan, you can't work for their student newspaper and then cover Michigan State, then you shouldn't be allowed to go to Michigan State and cover Michigan State. Because just as you might be too adversarial, if you can't trust that, then you're too friendly if you went to MSU. And so then Solari's out, and there's some other people which some of you may appreciate, but I would not. Anyway, I will. The key is not being a fan and being a professional, and I think Connor will be. He's a young guy who I think's got a lot of talent, and I hope people give him a chance. And obviously he's probably going to.
I don't know if it really matters who you're a fan of, as long as what I read is like you're impartial when you're talking about it. Like
but
you said,
can't
if you're
trust
giving
somebody's
Harbaugh
impartial.
Well, right? No, but I'm saying if you're talking about Harbaugh in a fashion where you're giving an opposite viewpoint of whatever every Michigan fan is saying because you actually feel that way, I don't care if you're a diehard Michigan fan. If you're talking rationally and giving another point of view is all. As long as you mean what you say and what you write, I don't care. I just think a lot of people write shit that's just trying to be sensationalized and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, here's the thing about why it's hard to be a fan and do the job well is you can do aspects of the job really well, right? It's just that it's hard to do the whole thing well, especially in certain roles, because you may not. It's hard to trust that you're not seeing things through tinted glasses. It's hard to trust that you're not beholden to somebody. It's those sort of things, and there's nothing wrong with being a fan journalist. But that's not what's happening here. He is coming from a student newspaper. That's the Block M. That's their Twitter handle, Michigan Daily Sports. Very good student newspaper.
Giant Michigan fan.
He's not yet.
.com.
And so, it's give Connor a chance. That's what I would say.
Ghost of George Perlis. Is the NCAA investigation into Michigan cheating announced in August still a thing? I tried to find where on the calendar for the 60 days and 90 days. What do you know?
It's very much still a thing, and I think that's part of the reason the CMU thing's taking so long is they're wrapped up in that. It'll happen. I just don't know. I have no idea when. You'd like to think it's soon.
Detroit Spartan, what's the most egregious thing Michigan has ever done in this rivalry, in your opinion? Did we do this one?
It was similar. Sorry, I should have paired them. What's the most egregious thing they've ever done? Well, probably trying to keep Michigan State out of the Big Ten, 70, 80 years ago. It was probably the most egregious, right? That's where a lot
jumping
of
Johnny Green on the board there
before that.
Jesus Christ. Detroit Spartan, I heard they trashed our locker room one year. Why was that unreported?
That was reported, right? That's why you know about it. That's why I know about it. It was reported. I think that
How
was
did you
reported.
know about it if it wasn't reported?
Right. It was reported. It was definitely reported. Or if it was, I don't know. I remember that was
Get Man Carini on this.
2018, something like that. I think that was reported.
Detroit Spartan, how many mgs of pure options can you actually handle in one edible?
What's your maximum
This
pure
is a
options
question
edible?
for you. You're an edible guy.
Yeah, I'm a big edible guy.
I know you throw it to me. What could you handle? 20 mgs?
Yeah, I think I've done...
in public. If you were taking a certain amount of mg. Okay, let's do public versus just being at home.
I would not go above 20 in public.
Okay.
I would be... because I don't... At home, I've done 30 at once.
No shit.
Yeah. That was pretty freaking...
What is Graham Couch on 30 mgs like?
He's pretty stoned. He's watching... Probably watching Virgin
You're actually
River.
watching good shit?
No, watching Virgin River on Netflix, just stoned out of my ass. Oh my God.
Shit. I've taken 80 mgs once. There was this little cookie thing, but I don't like taking it that in one giant dose. I like to slowly get my buzz going, right? So, I think I could handle 100 mgs if I took at a certain time.
Really?
Yeah. I took 60 mgs.
Here. I would like to see you produce this show and do the show on a certain amount of mgs. We should do that at some point. That's a July topic.
I could do that.
Or maybe it's even not. Maybe it's after a Lions loss show.
Honestly, as soon as I get the show, get everything set up, I'm good to go.
All right.
After that, I can start popping MGs because pretty much all I got to do is.
And so, how long does it take to get in your system? Because obviously, you need to get the show right to go, and then start the show. And then if you started taking,
it varies. It can happen within 20 minutes. It could be 45. I don't know.
Yeah,
Depends on what you eat.
We should definitely do this Pure Options show.
Twist my arm.
Yeah, no, it would be amazing. By the way, David Jackson wrote in and said, "Wait a minute, the student newspaper at U of M is called the Block M." No, it's called the Michigan Daily. It's just their Twitter handle is the Block M. That's all. It's the Michigan Daily.
By the way, David looking for a tailgate. Anybody wants to invite him to their tailgate?
Absolutely.
Detroit Spartan, I heard they trashed our locker. I read that. Detroit Spartan, I read that. Steve Beckman, will sports writers ever stop using the word tape when talking about game videos, or will we be stuck with that outdated reference to VCR cassettes forever?
Yeah, our generation will age out. I'm guessing 24-year-olds aren't using the word tape unless it's just being passed down. But
well, it's like they had video of some Tampa Bay Buccaneer players. They handed them a VCR tape and a cassette tape, and they were like, "What in the fuck is this?"
They didn't know what to do with it.
But really, though, isn't that? You don't know what it is at all? They've never seen a VHS or...
Think about it. There are people in college now who were born in after all of us stopped using our VCRs.
Yeah, but weren't you taught? Wasn't there a video played in school at some point? This is what a VHS player was. I never used a fucking record when I was younger, but I knew what a record player was because I saw a record player.
If you're in high school right now, you may never have used a DVD.
You have a device in your fucking hand. You can watch Pistol Pete highlights until your eyes bleed, and you can't look up what a VHS tape. I'm just saying, to not know what it is. I couldn't imagine you handing me an item or something like that everybody was using one day 35, 40 years ago, and you're like, I don't know.
You know what a horse and buggy is?
Fuck yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't want to ever ride in one.
You know what an 8-track is?
I do.
Yeah.
I never want to play my music on that shit.
Right.
Sounds terrible. All right, Scott, does the calm demeanor of Jonathan Smith and MSU staff and team focusing on doing their job well help with staying calm during a highly emotional game?
Yeah, well, I do kind of like I like that Jonathan Smith in some ways has no affiliation to this, has no emotional baggage with it, and that Sharon Moores is, this is his first, he's not a Michigan person originally. I do think, I wrote a column today about how this rivalry sort of has everything you'd want in certain capacities, but I do think from the leadership standpoint, it should be toned down a little bit, and it could be toned down. It would be beneficial to have two coaches who aren't emotionally caught up in things. Now, at some point they will. If Jonathan Smith remains Michigan State's football coach for any length of time, this rivalry will be in his blood. There's just no way around it. Same with Sharon Moore.
Do you think it's kind of like a fresh start?
Yeah, it's a new,
I just feel like
iteration.
These
100%.
guys have fresh kind of slates a little bit to where they both can let it organically just happen themselves and not try to force.
And Michigan State's got 61 new guys. There are a lot of guys who have no – now, and some of those are freshmen who aren't playing, but they've still got like 30-some guys who are new, and a lot of them are in roles that are playing that just don't really have the same baggage that
but if you're a player, though, you can come to a place like Michigan State, and then you can look at videos and see past years and stuff and kind of get a vibe. Like I don't buy that these guys just don't even give a shit or have no idea.
No, people tell you about it, then you get out there and the first hit happens and you realize it, and you're in. Yeah, but it takes a minute. Yeah.
Scott, Izzo seemed to go at the media hard last week during his press conference, saying you guys, the media, shouldn't corrupt the students by asking bad questions. What are some questions that would be good questions by Tom Izzo's standards?
He's just kind of kidding. So one of the things I actually find endearing that Izzo does is when he's got young student media around, or like if a state news or Impact radio station reporter from the Michigan State asks a question during a press conference, he'll often say that's a good question, even if it's not. And if Solari asks the same question, be like, "What the fuck kind of question is that?" You know, like
I will.
We're grown ups. It's endearing. We can all take it. We get it, and that's all. It's all in jest. He's just kidding.
Don't coach my team.
And he's just trying to poke fun at people he knows he can poke fun of, and we don't mind that banter. That's all.
Was this in jest?
Don't coach my team.
That was not in jest. That was Izzo telling me not to coach his team at Illinois a few years back.
Oh man,
yeah. He was not
the best soundbite ever.
Actually happy. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, more of your groovy donut Twitter questions. Couch in the Room, presented by Pure Options, precision crafted cannabis, and our friends at Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. Mention Couch the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a Pro Grow 8th with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team? Enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi. Sip on handcrafted cocktails or one of 46 beers on tap. Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. Two amazing places with one awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at GoMuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Pure Options, precision crafted cannabis. Go to pureoptions.com. Download the app. Get 20% off your next purchase when you download that app. And if you go to Pure Options, let them know Couch in the Roof sent you. Spend more than $50, you will get a free eighth of Pro Grow. But whatever you spend there, just let them know Couch in the Roof sent you. By supporting them, you are supporting us as well. Back to your Groovy Done Twitter questions.
Shep up next. Is a Michigan fan only listening to the show when blue is good, enabled by cheating, and MSU is bad, but being scared to listen when the reverse is true? Peak Walmart energy.
I think it's just being a fan. I think there's lots of people, if you're a fan of anything in life and you have a rival or you have a team you hate and something goes bad for them, you want to hear their misery. And I think that's human nature, right? Is it not?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe years ago. I'm soft and old now, so I don't really want to listen to any Michigan. Like, if Michigan State wins, I don't want to listen to any, like the Viking show. I didn't want to listen to their show after we beat them.
I think the NFL is a little different, right? Yeah,
I'm just saying I don't have that type with the college
Yeah.
game that Michigan State fans have or Michigan fans have. So I was trying to take it to my Lions fandom. I just don't.
I think a lot more Michigan State fans will be listening to Michigan content next week if Michigan State wins this impressively.
Sure, I get it. DMB, is Sharon Moore the Wolverines' Bobby Williams? What MSU stat will win them the game?
0 turnovers wins them the game. Maybe 100 rushing yards, but
would you say 1 turnover?
1 turnover.
That's what I was saying. 1.
And it sort of depends. You think of last week's turnover, last week's interception did not bite Michigan State at all. In fact, they wound up missing a long field goal. Iowa did, and Michigan State basically gained 10 yards out of the interception, or 15 yards. You know what I mean? So like it depends if there is no interceptions in the red zone. I think it's or on the goal line, or you know what I mean, or in the end zone. I think the type of turnover matters as well. To the question, is Sharon Moore the Wolverines' Bobby Williams? We don't know yet. What I would like to think that if you're in a leadership position, you're picking the next coach. They were desperate to hang on to what Saban was, and maybe Michigan's desperate to hang on to what Harbaugh was. But you should have that evaluation done pretty well. You should know if somebody is capable of being that. And Bobby Williams was not built to be the head coach at Michigan State. And I would like to think Sharon Moore is a little more made for it. Now, that may not be the case. And that may prove itself out this weekend, over the next year or two. But if Sharon Moore is not the guy, there are real questions about those who hired him.
DMB, what is Joel Ferguson's legacy? Rest in peace.
He was a force. You know, a lot of people have different opinions about him. I mean, he was really important to guys like Magic and other, he was an important person in Lansing as a developer and as a leader in black business and things like that. Now, but he was also a bully at times. I think, he was a force. And, so people have different feelings about him. It's a complex legacy. And obviously the stuff that a few years ago where he was not the greatest speaker on sensitive subjects, that stuff doesn't bother me as much, because old men from different generations speaking out of turn concerns me less than angry men in their 20s right now who don't get it and think about things a certain way. It is what it is. But complicated legacy. I had decent dealings with him. I know others that weren't fans. I know some that really were. I think, but he was a force in this area.
Why do you waste your time with sports writing? I mean, you should be like either a public defender or some like politician. I mean, that's like,
because those
what
jobs,
a great way to answer the Joel Ferguson legacy, though. That's pretty good, man.
And because those jobs don't allow you to, like, after the show, there's a, I can get my walk in watching a 3:00 Premier League soccer game.
I get that.
Like, what if I had to
There's more money in the other thing, maybe, but
Yeah, well, just marry well.
I was just saying I'm impressed.
I appreciate you.
MCV, do you see a future scenario in college athletics where academics are no longer applicable and players can transfer and be immediately eligible mid-season?
Not a one that works, because
you're telling me that some of these dudes are going to
but there has to be some sort of, it can't be college football if there's no college involved, right? And so it's some.
But the really good guys, they're going to class, right?
Well, I'm not saying they're going to class, all of them. I'm not saying they're not getting a ton of help. I'm just saying that, like, there has to be some tie to it.
So it's going to be like it used to be, except we can talk about it.
I don't think we get to the point that it's immediately eligible midseason. I do think people put their foot down, and I do think we get to the point their contracts pretty soon with these guys.
MCV, with a few exceptions, it appears that cross-country travel is not favorable to the road team in the Big Ten football, both in health and the results on the field. If this continues to be a trend, would it affect conference realignment or conference alignment?
Yes. I mean, I do think, like, I would not be surprised if the Big Ten in a few years realizes that it needs to have a West Coast wing, so to speak, and that it adds teams out there. The thing the Big Ten has going for it, and it depends on what league these teams join and what they're built into. Like Stanford, for example, now in the ACC is built into their grant of rights deal, right? So that getting out is not as easy. But I do think that at some point they'll say we'd like to have 6 together out there that are sort of playing in one division or whatever it might be.
MCV, this year's Michigan team looks very similar to the 2020 version. Does this put a bullet in the argument that sign stealing has no competitive advantage?
No, because it's just they also lost a crap load of dudes to the NFL and off their team. I think that's if last year's team, because they lost those guys and still won the playoffs without Connor Stallions, without that advantage. Like last year's team was legitimately good. Now, you can argue it's tainted, and that's a fair argument. They put themselves in that position. To a lot of people outside of Ann Arbor or outside of Michigan fans, those titles are always going to be tainted. And they did that to themselves, and that's on them. But I think there are just so many more variables here. But again, because they did that to themselves, these questions get asked, and that's going to be there forever for them. And they may not care, but I guarantee you to some people it eats them alive.
Sunshine Spartan, number 1, what percentage do you put on Michigan State beating scum? 2, when on an airplane, do you lean the seat back? And 3...
Sorry, these are supposed to be 3 separate. I fucked that up.
Well,
Sorry.
we'll get them all.
Okay.
3, have you tried Vangos while in Marquette?
Percentage do I have? I think it's 55% that Michigan State wins. Well, I had them winning 16-13, so it's not, it's
51.5.
It's not.
I'm up in the 60s.
Yeah, it's
airplane. No, never.
You don't back?
Absolutely never.
Now, yeah.
Nope. Because I don't want it done to me. I don't like
Correct.
it when it's done to me. I get in that freaking thing. I have the MGs already preloaded. I sit down. I don't get up to pee. I just if it's a 4-hour flight or under, I don't fuck with anybody.
Right. So I'll tell you the exception is if you're going on an overnight flight, I expect everybody to recline.
Sure.
And so when you fly like to England and you leave at 9:30 p.m., you're getting at 10 a.m. their time, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Everybody's reclining, and you just sort of know that going in. Like we're all doing this together. You're reclining on the person behind you. They're reclining to you. And anytime you're like, when I go to Hawaii later next month, I've got a 10-hour flight, so I'll have to think through that.
God,
think through that process.
He's not even gonna have pants on halfway through.
Oh yeah, I might not wear pants to begin the flight. I mean, that's just might be me and a bag of groovy donuts and my boxer shorts.
Weird. Jake, does the NCAA disregard their eligibility?
Oh, I forgot to answer the question on Vangos.
Oh, God.
So
almost missed that.
Vangos.
Shit, place them off.
Vangos in Kalamazoo. I don't think I've actually been to Vangos, which is interesting because I've been a lot of places. I don't think I've actually been to Vangos. It's possible.
I don't think I've been to Vangos, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He interrupted the sentence here. Jake, does the NCAA disregard their eligibility clock for football? NCAA has the bylaw that allows 4 seasons of eligibility in 5 years, including exceptions. But the amount of 6, 7, 8-year athletes is astounding and only appears to happen in their most profitable sport, football. As someone who works in JUCO athletics and has seen kids transfer from us and be bitten by that eligibility rule in sports such as baseball, it truly shows how football drives everything.
Yeah, so here's the thing. Obviously the COVID year, which has created an extra year in that clock, is why you're seeing some of it. But you are seeing these weird 7 and 8 year stories that have to do with injuries and all sorts of different waivers that have happened. And so that's mostly what it is. The reason you don't see that in other sports as much is because of the money. You're right. Because like in volleyball, there isn't the money just to keep an injured player around forever on scholarship, right? There's so many more scholarships in football. The use of the transfer portal is more pronounced. People are trying to hang around as long as they can in these sports much longer. And so that's why you see it there. But, yeah, I think you'll get back to 4 seasons. Although you may go to just 5 straight years of eligibility. That's where we're really headed, where kids have or at least have the redshirt years gone. You can play up to 5 years. I wouldn't be stunned if we get there in certain sports.
Captain Sparty, how can I rewatch the Iowa game? Missed it because of a wedding? I don't want to pay for Big Ten Plus.
Big Ten Plus is ass.
I think it's been sent to you by one of our listeners at this point. The worst case scenario, I can always download it on my phone for my recordings, but that would take a while. So I think you
can
have it.
Download it on your phone from your recordings.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like your video?
Uh-huh. I can download it from, if I save it on my Xfinity DVR, I can download the video onto my phone from there.
And send it to Captain Sparty.
I could, but I think he's got it through a YouTube.
For $4.99 a month.
At least. You could never cancel.
Couch on Fire, what do we think of the Fighting Narduzzi's at 7-0?
I didn't even know. I did not know until this thing that they were 7-0. Look, he's a decent coach. We know that.
Yeah,
and so
he talks a lot of shit. He gets hype on his team, and they're just
that's what he's supposed to do.
Always
there.
overrated.
If you were a Pitt fan, you'd like it.
I'd know you're fake. Couch on Fire, your pick for Michigan MSU game, hero of 2024.
All right, if at Michigan State and there's a hero,
Cal Halliday.
That would be fitting.
When a hero comes
up with a pick, comes up with the fumble.
Yes.
Let's go with Cal Halliday. We're all in on Cal.
Hell yeah. Puts that wrist up in the air. I don't know fucking wrist thing. Couch on Fire. I dreamt of that. Couch on Fire. What is up with Izzo coming to the DMV area for his 2 recruits so far? Thoughts on them? And I agree with Jason, number 7 on McDonald's menu. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, 2 sizable wings, different types of players a little bit. I haven't gone deep on either one of these guys in terms of video watched, and they always seem to...
You haven't crushed tape?
I haven't crushed tape, so to speak. But I think it's interesting the size of wings that he's getting here, and that is clearly an issue they realized they had previously and addressed with Frankie Fiddler and are continuing to address.
All right, Mark Osterman. Graham, what is a P.O. box for you or something so I can send you a proper fucking charging cord?
That just fell a little bit ago. We were talking, so nobody heard it.
Ideally, you have one at home on in your travel bag and one in the studio. If it was 1993 and you had to go to the store, maybe I get it. But fucking Amazon is a few clicks away.
I will have one, by the way, by Tuesday because I have realized that
it's a sickness and you have a problem.
No, it's just
it was beyond a bit for the show.
It was annoying because the other one frayed really quickly. Like you shouldn't have to replace an $80 charging for whatever it costs. And like,
absolutely, we get that part, but having it still keep doing that over like show after show, I thought
it's not great. Yeah. Well, the
I
other
thought you
thing
enjoyed it or something. It was funny.
In MSU basketball, the way we're set up with where we sit on the baseline. And where the plug sometimes is, I'm gonna have to have a longer cord than this just to do the quick take. So by
make it shorter, just piss people off.
Yeah, by Tuesday night it'll be.
Excuse me, Fred. I need to get my cord through here. Jake Hawkins, Jason. Since you say you like to make parlays when it comes to betting, what advice do you have for that? I tend to make 4 to 8 pick parlays with a $5 sprinkle and a profit boost bonus, but haven't been winning any. Yeah, you can't go more than 3, Jake. 4 to 8. If it's $5, especially don't use that profit boost. It depends on what they make you do because that's how they give you those profit boosts because they want you to do more legs because obviously those are harder to win.
Right.
I do 2 leg, I do 3 leg. Believe me, it's taken me a long time to learn that. I was doing 4 or 5 leg because of the same reason that you're doing right now. But you just have to be a more structured, better, maybe sprinkle more on the 2 to 3 leg parlays instead of wasting it on the $5. Right? Like bet $15 on a 2 to 3 leg parlay instead of the 4 to 8.
If it's truly a free bet, which sometimes you get, right? Then
those are good to use.
Then you go ahead. But like the profit boosts are rarely worth it. And they're not worth it if you don't have a bet you like. If you're adding a leg because you want to get the boost. And you can, there are ways to do 4 and 5 parlays where you're getting even money by taking a bunch of different things that are very likely to happen. And sometimes those go okay. But I'm with Jason. Like, I love a 2-team parlay. 3-team parlays are fun. And you can have a lot of success, I think, with 2-team parlays. But 4 to 8, something usually goes wrong. I mean, it's just there are very few sports where something doesn't go wrong.
And you're gonna hit one every 2 to 3 months. I mean, depends on how many you're doing. But Jake Hawkins, I noticed that you didn't talk a lot about Frankie Fiddler after MSU's preseason game against Northern Michigan. What are reasonable season expectations for him?
Yeah, part of it was because, I mean, he didn't have a game that stood out a ton, but also he's a guy that I really want to see play against Kansas and play against opponents where he's challenged and, put in stressful situations and has to play up, but is not necessarily the go-to guy the way he was in Omaha where you saw teams be able to take him away a little bit. No, I think he's a really important player. I think he's a critical player for Michigan State. I'm curious to see what it looks like against really high-level competition.
Next one from the Hawk. How intriguing is it that this MSU-Michigan game is the first one with first-year head coaches since Lloyd Carr and Nick Saban?
Yeah, I don't know what it means, but it's something. It's been a while.
It means we're old as fuck.
Yeah, and that we remember that we remember that game. It means we're old too. Yeah.
Jake, since Fox robbed Penn State of a whiteout night game against Ohio State, how should schools do a formal protest against the networks dictating start times for games?
Yeah, they're not going to. I mean, the money is. They want the money, and this is the devil you deal with, right? You want the money. You're gonna play when they tell you to play, and that's the reality. Now, if it gets too out of control in terms of a lot of teams saying too many night games, or people really get upset about something, and you think you have leverage, and I don't think the schools feel that way right now because they're worried about every dime. But if you get to a point where you feel like things are stabilized, you know how much it's going to cost, you can afford your athletic department, and that live sports is the last bastion of really good at live TV advertising because everything else is streaming, and you have the TV networks over a barrel, maybe you can dictate some stuff. But until that point, and that's not in this TV contract, there's nothing they can do.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy, what was your favorite toy when you were a kid?
What's your favorite toy?
I would have to say Legos. I had that blue case of Legos that I would bust out. I love doing that. I mean, there's a bike. I love my bike in 1986, my Schwinn famous bike that I love. Yeah. Other than that, I don't know. Fall Guy truck.
Yeah, plastic basketball hoop in the living room. Yeah, 100%. That was it. Yep.
All right, Jerk Guy, what was your best ever Halloween costume?
Oh, for me, it's probably Gavroche from Les Miserables in 6th and 7th grade, right? So,
and everybody knew who you were.
I had to explain it to some. Wasn't the coolest
you were
kid
shoved
in
a locker.
School. Yeah, wasn't the coolest kid. But
one day I will do the shoving.
That was my favorite. To be Gavroche is pretty damn good. How about you?
Definitely Kermit the Frog. My mom made it back.
Nice.
It was like I have a Polaroid. I'll have to post that somewhere.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, Kermit the Frog. I was really depressed though because I wanted to be He-Man.
So it wasn't even your.
Well, my mom, she made it. It was like one, Ralphie situation with the rabbit costume. She's like, put it on, and I had to, because she made it by her hand. All right, Upper Deck Jerk Guy. When you were single, what was your best pickup line?
Do you have one?
No, fuck no.
Even with the strippers?
Oh yeah, dude. You're like, I got $100.
Yeah,
that's what works on strippers. No, I never had any. I remember using like the opening line because you'd have a lot of the ladies on their apps would be like, you better come correct with your first thing you say to me, like that shit, so you'd have to always open with something stupid.
Yeah, I don't think
and I would be like, he's like, do you like kayaking? You ever wanted to go kayak? Because I was like, okay, it was a lot of pressure. I don't know what to say. I'm not smooth. I'm on a fucking dating app. Like if I was smooth, I'd be at a bar, like hitting on ladies.
The most effective thing that I didn't really have a pickup line, obviously.
No shit.
Yeah, but the most effective thing that ever worked for me a couple times was if you were with a friend, say you and I had gone to a bar together, or you were with somebody
who
was a jackass, right?
Yeah.
And I would just say, I would say, I'm sorry about him, and like that.
Oh, what a dick!
Work. Yeah, that seemed to work.
Oh shit, Jerk Guy. If you were running for president, what would be your top 3 items on your platform?
You don't want that from me.
Legal weed for everybody. Legalize mushrooms for everybody. Tax breaks on people that do not want to have kids.
There you go.
Or either they talk about not wanting to have kids. Maybe you have a kid later on in life, but I would still give you the tax breaks up until the time you had your kid.
I would vote for the Rube.
Yeah. Lastly, from the Jerk Guy, ever sharded in public?
I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but
if it happened.
Yeah, I don't think it's happened.
I think it happened to you.
I don't think so.
Yeah, how do you wait? How do you not know if you sharded your pants or not? Like, it's a yes or no.
I definitely haven't sharded. I farted, but not sharded. Yeah. It's a difference.
So when you farted, was there something in your underwear when you were done?
No.
End of show. There we go. What else you guys need?
I can't believe people are still listening. God bless you. We love you guys. Thank you for producing our show and listening and tolerating us. And if you're still listening, I hope you've got 25, 30 mgs in your system. And if not, Pure Options is here for you. Go to pureoptions.com. Locations throughout Michigan, including 3 in the Lansing area. We appreciate Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today or enjoy the Firekeepers in-house experience at Dacey's Taproom and Sportsbook just off I-94 in Battle Creek. And we appreciate Groovy Donuts. You want to feel good? You want to just enjoy your weekend? Groovy Donuts improves every weekend, every tailgate. It's just, yeah.
You just sharded.
GroovyDonuts.com. We'll talk to you Monday. Good show, man.
Yeah.
Catch the Roof.